I went to Tegucigalpa for a couple of days on my way to Costa Rica from Mexico. I was pretty nervous because the country has a bad reputation, so I paid for a nice hotel. The hotel was quite nice and the area felt pretty safe. The next day I took a trip to the downtown. From the car, everything looked pretty sketchy, although the natural geography and the landscape seemed pretty nice. The city development on top of the land looked run down. Walking through the downtown, I felt uneasy. I felt nervous to pull out my iPhone and take photos or videos. Everyone seemed like they were struggling to make a living. It seemed very poor. I felt quite nervous, but at the same time I felt a ton of adrenaline, and it felt pretty awesome. While the downtown had some pretty decent looking fast food restaurants and some decently dressed people, it had a lot of extremely poor people. A girl that was incredibly deformed crawling on the streets, begging for money, a mom pulling fleas out of their hair, of her husband and children, homeless men roaming around, children begging for money. After walking through the downtown, I saw a bridge in the distance. It was a bridge I was aware of, the one that divided the city, the low-functioning mainland and the assumably lawless underworld. I was so fascinated with life there, I crossed the bridge halfway and realized that it was too intense for me. I don't know if I was just in my head too much or what. There were quite a few nice, good-seeming people, but there were a lot of sketchy-looking people that have serious faces that looked ominous, and people that would smile at you mischievously. There was graffiti on the walls of the National Stadium and homeless sleeping on its doorsteps. I wanted to walk to a mall, but saw I had to go through a very sketchy street. I hesitated as the street seemed too sketchy to go, even in the broad daylight. But I went. I wore my hat low, so my eyes just barely peered out to see in front of me, and my eyes were darting from side to side, constantly scanning my surroundings. Eventually we made it to a slightly nicer area. We went thrifting and got coffee. Seemed like we had gotten through the worst of the city, and although the area that we were in wasn't the best, it seemed like the sketchiest parts were behind us. In El Salvador, I had noticed that people rarely look strangers in the eyes to acknowledge them, as in some friendlier societies. But in Honduras, I think I realized why. I chose to avoid eye contact with strangers because I was a bit fearful as to who I may encounter, as if I didn't want to let any strangers enter my life due to the possibility that they may make me feel uncomfortable. Overall, Honduras felt like a pirate town, but it pumped my adrenaline harder than I've felt in years. I give Honduras a generous 7.5 out of 10. It's an experience that you'll never forget. Welcome to Gabe's Beer Reviews. I got another one. Imperial. This is a 5% Honduran beer. Yeah, looking forward to this. Cheers. Pretty light still. I think it has a little bit of a taste though. Let me try it again. Yeah, I think all these three beers, I've tried Imperial, Salvavida, and Barena. All Honduran beers, I mean. And they're all pretty light, but this one is 5%. I could drink these, I could drink a lot of these and get pretty faded. I'd say it's a pretty light beer, not a lot of flavor to it. Trying to smooth out the alcohol, and I give this beer another solid like 8.25, maybe even 8.5. Here, you go ahead and try it.
Not bad. I mean, it's a little bit stronger, not as harsh as a Budweiser. I give it an 8.
8? Why is that?
It's like there's a little bit of an bitter.
A little bit of aftertaste,
but I do appreciate the 5%.
I give this a good 8.25.